Chris Boggs, an old colleague I've known for over 15 years in the SEO industry, was kind enough to let me interview him while I was in Albany. Here's that interview. I hope you enjoy it. Here's a quick shout out to our sponsor, Blue Array Academy. SEO training for in-house or agency-side staff from UK's largest specialist SEO agency, Blue Array, who have now open sourced their expertise. The Blue Array team, including senior leadership, have directly contributed to the courses, and it's action-based so people can learn and implement from day one. The Blue Array Academy will give you or your team the skills needed to really excel at SEO, gain accredited certification, and ultimately deliver better ROI. Check them out at bluearrayacademy.com. That's bluearrayacademy.com. Right, and I'll figure out what to do with the setting later, or we can just keep it green. It's pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah, now since it is green, you can use the software to put like...
Yeah, I actually have an editor that does this for me. So, would you want Paris? What do you want? You want Paris? What's your favorite place? He'll put it on there.
I would say the North Sea beach, a beach somewhere along the North Sea.
All right, if you can make that happen, Joseph,
Thank you.
do it. Chris, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry.
You are a long-time friend of mine for probably almost 15, 16 years now.
Yeah, I'm proud to say it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Can you tell people watching who you are?
I'm Chris Boggs.
Thank you. You're Chris Boggs. He is Chris Boggs. That's for sure. The one and only Chris Boggs. Are there other Chris Boggs? Is it a popular name?
There's right now, for a search for my name, there's a doctor that comes up, and then there's also a guy who teaches insurance. And I actually did an actual class for his school of insurance around SEO, and I had to be Christopher D. Boggs because he was Christopher something else Boggs. So yeah.
No, I don't rank number one for Barry Schwartz. There's this professor who wrote a book called The Paradox of Choice.
Since when?
Since ever.
Really?
He's like a 70s or so, famous professor who writes.
You never had number one for Barry Schwartz.
Never had number one for Barry Schwartz.
There we go. We finally have a
link to me.
Definite mission that should come out of this is Barry Schwartz should be number one. Come on.
First, subscribe.
Make sure it's spelled right.
Subscribe, smash that like button. That's what YouTubers say. And also link to me for Barry Schwartz.
Yes.
I rank on the first page. It's just not. He spoke at Google at one of these fireside. What are they called? The Google Talks. And when Danny Sullivan joined Google, he got me to do a Google Talk. So now Barry Schwartz and Barry Schwartz have both spoken at Google for Google Talks. So that's cool. All right. Anyway, he's Chris Boggs. He's being very humble by just saying he's Chris Boggs. He's been in the SEO industry for a long, long time.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I was supposed to do a full intro of myself. My bad.
And can you tell us your social security number?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Awesome. Now let's get into your history. You worked at many, many companies over the years. Can you list every single one off and say exactly how much you made at each company?
Not exactly how much I made, and I won't list every one. But.
All right, tell us the highlights of your career.
So, okay, I got lucky. I got out of the Marine Corps right at the beginning of 2000, and all I knew how to do at that point was fire artillery, which is not a great civilian job. But my buddy in San Diego at the time had a health insurance agency, and he decided, and I was starting to work there. I got a job just because I needed something to do. And we decided to start trying to sell health insurance online in 2000, which was at that point a new concept. All the health insurance agents thought you had to sit at someone's table and shake their hands. It worked out really well. We got San Diego SanDiegoHealthInsurance.com, blah, blah, and we did well. I ended up getting then a marketing degree at the University of Phoenix's physical campus in San Diego. Because I was advised by another consultant that if I could talk about SEO in relation to traditional marketing, that I might do better. So it was great advice that I got. I ended up moving east and took my first job with a small agency, and then I ended up getting headhunted to work with a company known as Brulant in Cleveland, which ultimately was bought by Rosetta, not the language software, but an agency from New York that had received some money to acquire other agencies. And so we became part of, ultimately, the Publicis empire, which was very funny. Now, I just realized, too, that I skipped a whole section. I did work for another agency for a little while before Brulant, and that was Avenue A Razorfish, which subsequently became part of the Publicis empire, too. I was there until the acquisition of Aquantive by Microsoft, and that's right when I left to go to Brulant. And then after all this, I came here to New York to work with Jim Boykin, where I was here about a year and a half. Great time, learned a lot from Jim and his methodology, and formed my own business now 5 years ago. and I'm doing Web Traffic Advisor since then.
It's awesome. I don't know if you know this, but when I was a teenager, I started my company, Rusty Brick. And one of the companies that I looked up to was like Razorfish. It was like, oh my God, Razorfish is the big development design shop. Mm-hmm. They were doing it all. I think they kind of went bust during the .com. They came back up when Avenue A kind of merged with them. So it's just interesting history there.
I still have a Rusty Brick laptop bag
you
that
do.
you gave me years ago.
They've broken over the years, at least. The logo has changed. It's now looks like this.
Oh,
we changed
nice.
the
Cool. I like it, yeah.
advertising. You have
That's
your logo
very nice.
here? I'm supposed to be advertising you, not me.
Okay.
Well, I'll take the credit.
We'll do that later.
I'll do that. Okay. All right. So now you have your own company called Web Traffic Advisors.
That's correct.
And Web Traffic Advisors, you started about 5 years ago after working at many large agencies, some small agencies, and some medium-sized agencies. What's the difference between doing your own thing, I guess, versus working for these larger agencies?
That's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of differences. I think one of the things that I have to preface that with is that I'm fortunate to have learned a lot over each of those steps that I took to forming my own thing, right? I think it's kind of the classic how you become a consultant typically is you learn everything and then you decide, wow, maybe I could do this on my own, right? And so that I think has been very useful to, kind of keep me grounded, that I have to remember where I came from and I have to remember all the great things that I learned along the way. For example, the way that I deliver reports now, or the way that I conduct myself during phone calls. These are all as a result of trainings that happen along the way with various agencies.
Including the military stuff, I'm sure.
True, that helps too. I mean, understanding decorum and in agencies that help because, not to go around your boss, to a higher boss. That's something you learn in the military, but I don't think that a lot of people in agencies get taught that, right? No. And it can be very bad. So point is, I guess the single probably biggest difference is that I'm able to sell in a different way as a solo marketer than I was able to sell when I was with an agency. I guess the primary differences are that we can sell on mostly subject matter expert hours versus a lot of what you would call more administrative type of hours. That's one point. Now, that being said, I found that I work very well together with sort of flatter level companies, enterprises that don't have lots of teams across them, because an agency, that's something that can do very well with a bigger enterprise type organization that has lots of different people on each team, because then an agency can allocate different points of contact more efficiently than I can, right? So that's one difference, is that it helps me, since I'm only me and I only trust a few of my partners to actually talk to my clients, it helps me to sort of position myself with companies that are less complex in their own nature. That being said, I work with some pretty big brands, and you'd be surprised how flat some very huge brands are in terms of how many people they've hired for search, right?
Right.
And even marketing or marketing / search. I mean, you're lucky if you get a few people in-house in some of these really big brands.
That's true. I mean, I've met with on this vlog, I met with lots of big brand SEOs, and it's literally just a team of maybe 2, 3, 5 people max.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But they do outsource a lot to people like you.
It's nice to kind of have that direct point of contact, but there are some structures that are so big that it would be difficult for me to have all the communication that I need to have, or trust enough of my subs to have those communications, right?
That's awesome. And just some more history outside of all that, and starting your own company. You also helped me in the early days of Search Engine Roundtable. You were one of the few ever authors. I never had other authors, and you were one of the few. You wrote a nice number of articles in the early days, so thank you for all of that.
Thank you.
And also,
that's one of the most prideful things for me, is that you for some reason never took down my name as one of your associate editors. I'm really proud of that. I know it took me a few years to catch up with each of the jobs that I moved to ask you to change the link.
Right.
So I appreciate that, but I really do think that was a great time, and I owe a lot to you for giving me that opportunity, because live blogging makes you learn it, right? Because you can't live blog unless you kind of know it.
Right.
And then if you're trying to keep up 2 sentences behind, that's what I learned through you and some of the other amazing live bloggers we had in that crew.
But you were able to do that because you knew before they were finishing what they were going to say, they were going to say. So that helps with live blogging, of course. So thanks for all that. And also, you give a tremendous amount of your time and efforts to the community. You work you're involved in SEMPO. I don't know what your current position is, but
I've been on the board of directors for 12 years.
12
now,
years.
So.
And SEMPO is, I think, the largest and most official organization for the search marketing community.
We have been, and we've had some great years. We got the big growth in local stuff going on now. Like there's an event coming up in Kansas City, one in Louisville, one in the Caymans. These are all kind of centralized groups of people that are really forming together, using the SEMPO banner as a reason. But really, it's nice to see all these different types of small community events happening, around the globe.
And people should reach out to you if they want to help, if any.
Just go to sempo.org and
reach out there.
Certainly check it out. And if you have any questions, by all means, happy to answer them.
Cool. And you also spoken at many conferences. I think in the past you spoke at SES events. You spoke at lots of PubCon events, Advanced Search Summit. So thank you for everything you do with the search community. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's go into a little bit SEO related topics. I know you are a big fan of technical SEO. I think that's one of your, you're known for that in your history. Obviously larger than that as well, but let's talk a little bit about technical SEO. So you told me you were at an event somewhere in Europe. Where was it?
TIO Amsterdam a couple weeks ago. It's sort of a mega thread inspired event.
Yeah, I went to one. I had one in London once.
Yeah,
they're fun. They're fun people.
It was just amazing to meet all of them. But Jerry, the guy who organizes it, and then Arnout was kind of a big guy in organizing the Dutch one. Such amazing people, and the reason that I think you brought it up is it was just fascinating. It was a 2-day event, and the technical topics that are on these people's minds, and people like Rishi and some of the other leading European SEOs were there, and it was just fascinating. To really, it was kind of validating in a way, right? Because years ago, I remember I spoke at SES London some years ago, and I spoke down in Brazil some years ago. I spoke in Beijing. It was always that there was kind of a disparate. It used to be that, and I'm not saying this as a piggyish American because I'm half Belgian, first of all, but it used to be that Google.com and what they were doing there to influence their algorithm, I'm sure you agree with this, was ahead of the rest of the world, right? But now I would say it's much more on par, because this is one of the things that I picked up based on the discussion going on in Amsterdam, is that they're having the same kind of problems or opportunities, however you want to position them, from a technical SEO perspective. They're talking about schema, they're talking about all the different coding and minimification type issues.
Right.
It was exciting and validating and cool to be part of it. Even the black hat topics were very kind of similar, right? What are people talking about with black hat? Oh, is bad traffic a signal? Stuff like that. It was fascinating.
You didn't even mention it. I think the reason, maybe the time, I guess, the non-US based SEOs became maybe even better at technical SEO than maybe US, maybe somebody may say that, is when hreflang came out.
Yes.
Because hreflang is probably one of the most complex and detailed technical SEO things you need to do.
It's the perfect ninja sword, why? Because it can cut you just as bad as it can help you. Right?
Yeah.
So Bill Hunt is someone who's made a living globally. He just won an award for his tool against some other tools that do so much more, but his tool is so perfect that hreflang, and he's not paying me to say this, by the way, but he won the U.S. Search Award, for that, and I'm sure he's submitting to the SMX Awards and these others.
He's won a tremendous amount of awards.
Tool, right?
Bill Hunt is the hreflang before there was hreflang.
Yeah,
I remember him talking at SES's back in 2006 or something about how to structure your website so that Google can pick up the different languages and regions on your website properly. So that's very interesting.
It's
what
like
else
when we were first trying to do the canonical, right? Each of these types of complex tags, the new no-follow, or not new no-follow, what's the other new tag that they did?
UGC.
Rel UGC.
Or sponsored.
And those, sponsored. Those are going to be interesting tags to test, and they kind of appease us, but it all boils back to fast code typically, and how you can position. I mean, these examples that I did a presentation at PubCon last week, where the examples were consistent, where if you have a smooth navigation and you can support it with a lot of internal links, you can succeed in highly competitive spaces without necessarily creating a 1,000-page volume of the history of diamonds, right? So I think it's fascinating the power that technical SEO can have now, because some people are still on an older e-com platform, and they've made the fortune to jump to a newer Hybris, ATG, whatever it is, but they also have a team now that's had 10 years of these annoying consultants, these SEO consultants showing up in meetings saying, hey, why is this and why are these pages all indexed and everything? So now when you're getting these new gen e-commerce sites being built, a lot of the teams that are building them have been peppered with SEO for the last 10 years, and it's really starting to pay us back, I think, you know?
It used to be the days of SEO was a lot about fixing the content management platforms, the platforms that were publishing the content.
Right, or band-aiding, not even fixing.
Yeah, it's true, band-aiding, yeah, for sure, that's for sure. And it used to be like content versus links. You're saying it's not one thing these days, it's more about making sure your technical SEO is sound, making sure your content's great, making sure your link or content promotion is outstanding. And it's all of that put together which makes the difference these days.
And the internal links is the big secret sauce these days.
Internal links.
A lot of people are talking about it, but if you look at most of the top performing sites in competitive e-commerce spaces, it's because they've capitalized on their internal link structure and the tricks they're using, for UX and for other ways to get people on keep them on the site.
And the cool thing about Chris Boggs is that he's not only about SEO, he does PPC stuff too.
That's true.
Which is pretty cool. And maybe some black hatish PPC. No, I'm sure.
No. I mean, you got to take the opportunities that Google gives you.
Right.
And certainly there's niches where a lot of these companies are, they're multi-brand companies that are well-known companies, right? So you can do well within specific niches if you have the right companies that you already own, for example, and sort of almost blocking out certain areas. There's a lot of exciting opportunities. Google, however, does worry me a little bit in the faith they're putting into their technology, their AI, and making decisions. Also, they're still aggressively encroaching upon what used to be great exact match. The broad match is really not worth testing too much anymore. Even phrase match can be dangerous. So you have to stay on your feet, and I enjoy that part of my day because I actually do get into the Google ads. It's nice to be in there and to see how Google is doing. I'll poo-poo their technology, but it's a very important platform. It's still very effective in marketing your products at the top of the search results, as we all know, in mobile environments especially. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's interesting you mentioned all the things about broad match and exact match and so forth. I just spoke to Will Reynolds, which is a video I did previously, and he was just seemed angry with how Google is.
I agree with you. Well.
Yeah, he understands why they're doing it from a business perspective, but he's if Google could go ahead and match in organic search the way they do, there's no reason why they can't do the same thing and they're smarter than that, but they do it because they want to earn more money.
They can just use LSI keywords, right?
Yeah, LSI keywords. That's an inside joke right there. That's not inside, it's an insight to the whole SEO community. So those watching this video probably get that joke, so kudos. In any event, thank you so much for doing this video with me.
Barry.
How could people learn more about you, follow you, hire you? What should they do?
I'm on Twitter at Boggles, Boggles, and you can find my site, which I don't spend a lot of time grooming, at webtrafficadvisors.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barry.
So that was Chris Boggs, an old-time friend, really, really smart SEO and SEM PPCer. He really knows it all. He has been at so many different companies, experienced so many different types of clients and so many different types of challenges, and he's just a great guy. So really happy he took the time, was able to meet with him in his neck of the woods. Looking forward to talking to him in the future again.